Hello everyone and welcome to What's the Word Wednesday. Today I am wanting to talk about the Federal Reserve. So it has been in the news recently that Trump wanted to be able to fire the governor of the Federal Reserve, and the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. So in my mind, that looks like the Supreme Court is afraid or under the authority or under the control of the Federal Reserve or somebody who's controlling the Federal Reserve, right? So that has happened, and for people who have been down rabbit holes for quite a few years, read The Creature from Jekyll Island, I think that's the name of the book, they understand that the Federal Reserve got put into place somewhat nefariously in a tricky way. So I would like to just take a look at the chart, the astrology chart of the Federal Reserve, and follow up with a couple questions with the tarot to see what we can see. Because our natal chart, when we're born, our natal chart is kind of like our blueprint for our life. And, things get activated at certain times based on the transits that happen. And it's not any different for a company, or in this case, the Federal Reserve. An organization that gets birthed into being. When that happens, it has a chart blueprint also, and it kind of says a lot about the nature of that company or that organization, just like our natal chart says a lot about who we are or who we could be. So let's go ahead and look at the chart. Alright, so here is the natal chart of the Federal Reserve. It was signed into law on December 23rd, 1913 at 6:02 p.m. in Washington, D.C. And one of the first things I noticed is right off the bat, the first house, this is the first house right here, that represents who we are, and how we present ourselves to the public. And right off the bat, this is Pluto. There's Pluto in this house, Mars in this house, Neptune in this house. If you had to pick three planets, Pluto and Mars are both called malefics in astrology. So they're kind of like the villains of the astrology world, or can be, not always, but they can be. And Neptune is a close third, because it can be like a lot of hidden stuff and secrets and things like that. So right off the bat, you've got the planet of power and secrets and intensity and that kind of thing in the first house, along with the ascendant. And then almost conjunct the ascendant here, you've got Mars, which can be militaristic and divisive and warlike in nature, in its negative sense. It can be proactive in a very positive sense, but we're looking at the Federal Reserve. So, I think we can identify with the idea that that in our minds, the IRS and the Federal Reserve are, taking our money, and I'll get to that in a minute too. So, and then Neptune, something hidden here, right? And all of these planets are ruled by, they're in Cancer, so they're ruled by the moon, and the moon is over here in the fifth house. So, the moon is, it governs emotions, instinct, and also women and children and people. And it's in Scorpio, which is where it's in fall. It's in the the sign that it least likes to be in, and in the fifth house of children. So, knowing what we know about people who set up the Federal Reserve, this was kind of an odd sort of thing to me, to see that. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense knowing what we know about these people, but to see that in a chart of an organization that's supposed to be handling money and taxes and things like that It's odd. So, you know, if I were looking at a chart of a company that like banking that handles a lot of money and things like that, I would expect to see stuff in Taurus. Here's Taurus. The house is empty. I would expect to see something in Libra, because both Taurus and Libra are ruled by Venus, which is about money. There's nothing in Libra. I mean, that doesn't mean there's nothing going on there. Venus is over here in the 6th house. But so it does rule these. But there's no activity here, which is odd. And so what we get is we get these malefics in the 1st house, which is how they present, and something hidden about, like they're hiding something about themselves with the Neptune here. And then it's ruled by the moon. So in other words, it's not meaning that this is all ruled by a woman, but it means that there's something about the way they're set up where it has to do with women, children, and being in Scorpio. That's a very intense sign. Scorpio, and actually there's a mutual reception here between, Pluto is ruled by the moon because Pluto's in Cancer, and the moon is ruled by Pluto in modern astrology because Pluto rules Scorpio in modern astrology. So there's a connection here between the power of how they present themselves and women, children, people in this intense kind of relationship. And the 5th house is the house of creativity. So you could say, if somebody can make sense out of what that means, leave it in the comments, because to me, all I can think about is their hidden, the way they use the money. And we have learned some of that already with trafficking and all that kind of stuff. So were they set up knowing that that's what they were going to do? I suppose so. So going back to the 1st house and the identity of the 1st house, if we look at the aspects that are happening between these planets that are in the 1st house and others, we can see Pluto is straight across in opposition to the Sun. And the Sun in the 7th house, that's the 7th house is their partnership. So who is the Federal Reserve partnering with? They're partnering with the people, the taxpayers. The taxpayers are their partner. That's where they get their money from. So, and they've got the Sun here. So, the purpose is to get money from the people, and Jupiter here, which is in fall. So it's not so they're getting money, but they're not getting it because people are willingly giving it to them. I think that's the Jupiter in fall part, because Jupiter is also, there are many planets in this chart that are not in places they like to be. For example, Jupiter is in fall. It's in the sign that it least likes to be in, Capricorn. The moon is in fall. It's in the sign it least likes to be in, Scorpio. Mars is in fall. It's the sign it least likes to be in. It's kind of crazy, really. And then Mercury over here is in detriment. So, I wouldn't pick this chart for myself. If I were going to sign something into law, I certainly wouldn't be signing it when they did and create this sort of destiny for my company, if that's what I wanted to do. But the point is, you can look at the chart and you can definitely see weird stuff going on. You can see the representation of power and hidden things. You can see some kind of connection to women and children, and Scorpio rules death and sex, and it's pretty intense kind of sign. So and then you've got, just to finish out looking at the chart a little bit, Saturn over here is in the 12th house, which is interesting because it's across from Mercury. So it's kind of like daily activity involves work, and and it's somehow connected to overseas, which I also got from the North Node. A North Node is where you tend to concentrate because it's like this unseen direction you feel drawn to do. It's for an individual, it's like where your soul wants to go, so that it's wanting to learn all it can in this area. It's in this lifetime, and for a company or an organization. There's like it's Rahu. It's the head of the dragon. It's like this excess energy where you're constantly taking in. So, you've got it in Pisces, Pisces is ruled by Neptune. So it can be overseas, it can be hidden things, it can also be creative and spiritual. Although I hesitate to say anything is spiritual about the Federal Reserve. And if we look at some of the aspects, and I don't want to get into like a ton of details and take too long on this. I mean, I've got notes I've gone through, and I've made all kinds of notes, but it would take too long, and I know everybody doesn't want to see all the details about the chart. But I just want to point out that there is some weird things about the Federal Reserve chart, right? And one of them points to this thing which to me, in my mind, it's like women and children and trafficking. With the fifth house, it got created to actually support that, perhaps, because there's a definite connection between Pluto and Moon here. Their purpose, who they are, how they present themselves, plus you've got this hidden aspect and things going overseas. It's just yeah. And then you've got the North Node near the Chiron, which is like a wound, an issue, a fault, that's supposed to be healed over time, and that is connected to this North Node, which is, its direction. And I see that, with the Pisces there. It's like it's sending stuff overseas. That's just coming to my mind. It's sending stuff overseas. So, yeah, now I'd like to get on to just what things look like now. So I want to look at, I'm going to close this up, and I'm going to open up, let's see here. I'm going to find the transits. And let's see what we're looking at now. Nothing. Oh yeah, it brought it up. Good. Okay, so in the current transits, if we look, and the inner chart here is what we were just looking at, and now the outer ring right here is where the planets are right now. And this week, I just did the astrology for the week. We have a nice pivot point happening where we've got this Mercury Cazimi. Mercury's in retrograde, and it's about us all looking back and reflecting. And then we have a Cazimi where it is conjunct the Sun. And, there's like an aha moment. And then soon after, it starts moving forward again. And then we also, right after that, have a new moon in Cancer. So there's all this activity happening in Cancer. And lo and behold, that is where the first house of the Federal Reserve is. It's Cancer. And where did the Cazimi happen? It happened on, here's Mercury, here's the Sun, and the Cazimi is happening tomorrow, I think at 20 degrees. So it's within 1 degree, it's within 2 degrees of the ascendant of this AS right here, which is like it's the face of the Federal Reserve. So I think, Cancer, in my mind, it rules the people. In mundane astrology, it rules the people. And I think with this Cazimi, I think there might be some sort of aha when it comes to the Federal Reserve. It may not shock or surprise people who've been looking at this stuff for a while. But for people who aren't paying attention, they're just going along, paying their taxes, working, and so on, and just think, this is just the way the system is. There may be something that comes out where they realize, this organization is taking advantage of me, and I don't like it. I don't want that anymore. And so right after that Cazimi, we have the new moon, and the new moon is also happening within that range. It's also happening like at 21 degrees, I think it is, or almost 22 degrees Cancer. So it's also right here on the ascendant Mars, and within the influence of Neptune as well, right here. And with a new moon, we're planting seeds. So I think there's going to be something that comes out about the Federal Reserve that kind of plants the seeds in people's minds that, hey, it's not okay. There's something, this organization is not good. And the thing is, new moon, I talked about this in my Stargazing Sunday, if you watch that. But the new moon, usually the full moon in Cancer will happen within 6 months of the new moon in Cancer. So that means, with the new moon happening here in July, we would have a full moon around January. But sometimes it skips a sign and it doesn't come out like that. And this is one of those times. So there's the next full moon in Cancer is not in July, or not in January 2027 as it normally would be. It's January of 2028. So it's like we've got this full 18-month period of growing this seed, this idea of what's going to happen. It's like it's going to take the public 18 months, and maybe it's going to take people working on the financial background 18 months to get us from this seed to the full moon. And what are full moons? Full moons are where it's where we shine a light on something. And that full moon is happening right here on the, in conjunction to the ascendant of the Federal Reserve. So I really think there's going to be some sort of, I think it's going to be that long, which I don't really like. I really don't. That's a long time. But the way time's been going, I guess it won't be that long. But it's 18 months, January 2028 is when we get that full moon in Cancer. There may be things along the way that happen that, it's going to kind of be like stepping stones, things transit. So you get the new moon point kind of created, that energetic point gets created. And then as other planets, Mars, etc., pass through and hit that point, it will activate it. And maybe more information will come out. So it'll be kind of like a step-by-step thing where the people become aware of the problems with the Federal Reserve, and that but it won't be until January 2018, according to what I'm seeing in the astrology. This is my interpretation of the astrology, that we're actually going to see like the full. Since it's happening within Neptune, it's like it's going to shine a light. At what point is that hidden part of the Federal Reserve going to be seen by everybody? Well, most likely when there's a full moon. Well, that's when there's a full moon, January 2018. So that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so now I'd like to go to read on a couple of questions. I like to read on a couple of questions. Okay, get my cup out of the way. And the first question I have is, did the Federal Reserve have a hand with anything nefarious involving children? Right? Did the Federal Reserve have a hand, with, and have seen information alluding to that possibility, but let's see what the cards have to say about it. I also pulled out some. I pulled out some oracle decks, so I want to go ahead and draw. Well, that didn't go very well, did it? There we go. Let me just shuffle them this way real quick. Let's see what comes out. Did the Federal Reserve have a hand in anything I had to do with? Okay. And this is my Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And this is a little more like astrology based. So we'll see what it has to say. Maybe it'll point something out in the chart. Sometimes that happens. So, card from here. Whoops, that one wanted to come out, so we'll take that. Okay, and then the tarot. One more shuffle here. All right, and cut the deck. All right, so my oracle cards are Influence, which is Mercury in Libra. Influence. So Mercury is communication, interaction, and the way you think, etc. And Libra is relationships. So here you've got a relationship. It's interesting, there's a snake here. I'm not sure how that, I guess it has a, its tongue looks like a Venus, sort of, and Venus rules Libra. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure why the snake. So in this respect, it really is interesting because you've got a serpent and the Garden of Eden. And it's almost like what they're doing with the Federal Reserve is the same kind of thing the snake did with Adam and Eve. You know, it deceived them. It deceived them into eating the fruit. So it's like a deception. I'm seeing an influence through deceptive means. So I'm going to put that there. And then the other card is staying focused, hold the course. Okay, so when you're drawing oracle cards that are all positive in nature, and then you're trying to read about something negative, it's like, what's that mean? But so if I look at this carefully, we've got kind of like the wizard looking out at the stars through his telescope, hold the course. And I think, you know, in this case, yes, we've been deceived and we're getting encouragement. It's like, it will take some time, but hold the course, right? So that is our oracle. Let me put that down there. And now let me do our Kachina knife. We've got the Knight of Swords. Okay, and my question, just to say it again, my question has to do with, did the Federal Reserve have a hand in trafficking children, using the money, whatever? And we've got the Devil card. We've got the Six of Swords, the Ten of Cups, the Knight of Wands, the Hanged Man, and the King of Wands. All right. So this does not look like a happy situation. We've got the Ten of Cups, and the Ten of Cups can be a happy card, it can be a happy family, and it can also be, in this case, it's not well aspected. I just noticed this is a little crooked, so I'm going to try to straighten it a little bit. Anyway, so it's not well aspected. We've got the devil on one side and the Knight of Swords on the other, where the person is worried, upset and worried. And so what I see here is, let me get these cards up a little higher. We are coming out of a situation where that was the case. I mean, they're moving a woman and a child. This is a card where the man is moving a woman and a child. You know, child trafficking? I don't know. People trafficking? I don't know. And then you've got kind of like the happy family, but not really. So, in other words, I think they really didn't want happy families. They didn't care about happy families. And honestly, they're just, maybe part of the process was creating unhappiness, which is what we're seeing here. We're seeing, you know, this is supposed to be part of the identity of the Federal Reserve, creating unhappiness, right? So creating unhappiness, enslaving people, literally, and yeah, it really it does look that way. Now we've got the Hanged Man down here, and that is Neptune in the astrology. You know, so in astrology, the Hanged Man is Neptune. I wish these cards would stay on the screen. I must keep moving them. So yeah, they've got a hidden part of themselves for sure, and I think the trafficking is the hidden part, right? So that part is hidden, and the Knight of Wands. So as far as the trafficking goes, you know, the question was, did they do that? And I would have to say, yes, they did. And this is past, present, future. So it looks to me, with the Knight of Wands, that that is being changed. Because you've got a military involvement here and some waiting involved, where some figure like Trump, like a head of state or like a government, gets involved. So the government is involved, and it will take time, but they're moving forward in a different direction. And let me pull a couple cards here. Yeah, so the Queen of Wands is very independent, and the Page of Swords is rumors. So I think there's rumors of us being more independent and not having this aspect anymore. That will come out eventually. It will come out that that was a thing, maybe with the full moon in 2018. Maybe that will be a thing. But I think the cards are verifying that they are the serpent. They have deceived us. They have used us, enslaved us, and it could be they just enslaved us by taking our money. You know, that's here. You know, I was specifically asking because of the chart, how, you know, the moon in the 5th house in Scorpio, it's like, what does that have to do with money? It's I would like somebody to explain that to me who knows astrology. But that's what I'm getting. I'm getting, yeah, you know, I think somehow some of that money went to trafficking, for sure. All right, so that's the first question. Now, the second question I have has to do with, okay, so what will the Federal Reserve look like by full moon 2018? When that time comes, the full moon in 2018, what's it going to look like? Is it going to still be around? Is it just going to be transformed into something new? Utilizing the structure as we've seen them do with other things, utilizing the structure for something that's more beneficial? Or is it just going to be disbanded and not used at all? Or is it just going to stay the way it is? And what we're hoping will happen, maybe it's not going to happen. I hope that's not the case, but let's see what the cards have to say about that. And I will. I also want to draw one oracle card from this deck. This is called Shadows and Light. I'm going to draw one card from this deck here. This one's sticking out. All right, and then I will. So let's just go ahead and. Oh, wow. So we've got the Death card right off the bat. Let's see what the rest of it looks like. We've got the Queen of Wands. So there's definitely a transformation happening. We've got the Fool. Justice. A lot of major arcana. Nine of Cups. Six of Wands. Four of Pentacles. Okay. And our oracle is Effort, the Builder. I pulled this, I just finished today a collaboration with Tarot by Lupo, and I'm doing my What's the Word Wednesday early, so, today is Saturday, but this will come out on Wednesday. But I just pulled this card today when I was doing my collab. Watch our collaboration, it's got some really great stuff in it. He got into the reptilians, and I got into I think I asked another question about the Federal Reserve to kind of wet our feet, and I got this card. This was about Trump. Yeah, so but interesting. So Effort, the Builder. So to me it looks like they're rebuilding. It's not going to just be disbanded. They're kind of going to remake it. And here we've got, like a new start going on with the Fool. So we've got a new start. I'm just going to take this out a little bit because, there we go. That helps. Okay. It helps get it all in the picture. Hopefully you can still see it okay. But it's a new start. And interestingly, on the chart, and I didn't point this out at the time, but the Fool represents Uranus, and Uranus in the chart is in their 8th house, which is a house of transformation and other people's money and taxes. And when you look at that, knowing what it could be, Uranus, it's in Aquarius also, so it's like, oh yeah, that's crypto. They're like transforming themselves to control people through crypto. But interestingly, you've got the Fool here, which is like a Uranus card, and it's Uranus in astrology. So it's kind of like a big change. And Uranus can be about freedom, rebellion. Aquarius is new technology, and so on. And so it's like it's going to be, I guess, when the new digital, and not the CBDC, but when there's a digital currency coming, it's going to be, it's where they're building it. It's where they're building it. Yeah. They just right in. And so what we've got is the Fool to start, and the question was, what will it look like in January 2028 when we have that full moon shining on its first house and kind of shining a light on the hidden things. And the moment that they do that, they will want to have something in place. They're not going to just say, "Oh, look, the Federal Reserve, they've been doing all these things and they're misusing your money, et cetera," and then let the chips fall where they may. I know that's not what they want. They want to be able to say, however, we have been working on something even better, something that's going to give people freedom and autonomy and be even better than before, right? They want to be able to say that at the same time. So I think what we see here is we've got this new beginning. So this full moon is definitely going to reveal some things. At the same time, it's a new beginning. It's bringing justice. So justice will be seen. It's also bringing balance. So like I said, it's instead of just saying this is the way it is and let the chips fall where they may, we're also bringing in something important and something helpful that's going to help balance everything out. So here with the Death card, we can see that death is not like necessarily just the end. It can be a transformation. So we've got, and with this effort in the Builder card over here as my oracle that I drew along with it, I think it really kind of brings in that idea that they are transforming it and building something different from what they had before. And the Queen of Wands shows, it's a woman of independence and who can trust in her own intuition. And I really think this new system is going to enable that. It's going to enable this individuality. It's going to enable this autonomy. And it may have a little woo factor to it with this Queen of Wands here, because she's like queen of intuition, right? And then from that point forward, from that point of reveal forward, we have people being very happy with the arrangement with the Nine of Cups, like a wish come true. So we're starting on a new journey and we're going to be happy with it. We're celebrating. The Six of Wands is on one side and the Four of Pentacles is on the other. So we're celebrating, and this is somebody who's got they're holding on to their money for stability. So I think we're celebrating, but maybe we're celebrating stability. We're celebrating that our money is ours now, and it's not, a third of it going off, or however much you pay. It could be a lot more than that, going off to your central bank, in our case, the Federal Reserve. So my answer to that, according to the tarot, my answer to that is we are definitely, and with all these major arcana, we are definitely, there's going to be some reveal by then for sure, by January 2018. And I think it's like a new system reveal, because we've got the Fool here, which is like the new beginning. So I think there's the death of the old, the bringing in the new. So the new system is going to be, and then at the time they're bringing in the new system, they will be talking about what the old system actually was or was doing. So about 18 months waiting for that full moon in Cancer, that fruition. So okay, well, I hope you liked this special edition of What's the Word Wednesday, where we can see a little more about the Federal Reserve and what it's, let's see if I can stop my share. Wait, maybe not. Oh, here we go. There we go. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy that, And I look forward to seeing you again Stargazing Sunday. So I'm not going to be doing the Friends Friday anymore. The idea when I first started that was to answer viewer questions, anybody who had any questions and just wanted to ask a tarot reader about something, but not personal, something that you could just put in the comments, like, is Trump really gonna be, is he really gonna disappear, or, things like that. And I don't have any questions, so I'm not going to do the Friends Friday anymore. I'm going to stop doing that. And I'm just going to do my Stargazing Sunday, and I might actually split out my Stargazing Sunday into 2 videos so that those who want to watch just the astrology can watch that, and those that want to watch the tarot can watch that. And if you want to watch them both, you can watch both videos. But that way, because it tends to be a little long with both of them, and not everybody wants to watch both. So I thought I would go ahead and split that out, and those will both come out on Sunday. And then I'm just going to try to keep up on things through the week, and if there's something to read on, to do a short on, that's in the minds of people and just interesting to do a read on, I'll do that. But that's the way it's going to go moving forward. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again on Stargazing Sunday. So you all take care, and I'll see you next time.